of 2016 detailed the Podesta brothers' extensive business dealings. But the 21st was not even my first tweet. In fact, on the 15th, I had tweeted that Paul Manafort makes John Podesta look like St. Thomas Aquinas. So this was not my first tweet. Now, the claim that I later, that tweet caused some controversy, brought heat on me, was not true, because until 6 weeks later, when Assange did publish the Podesta emails, there was no social media commentary, there was no media commentary, there was no congressional investigation, there was no Mueller investigation,
Roger, if I may.
There was no subpoenas. So I had no need for a cover story.
What I construct, and this is from Jerry Corsi, and I'll ask him in a minute, what I testified to the grand jury was I believed I was creating a cover story for Roger because Roger wanted to explain that tweet. By the way, the special counsel knew this. They can tell my keystrokes on that computer. What is that about?
Yeah, and my point is I had no reason for a cover story. Jerry said I was getting heat, but there was no heat. For 6 weeks, no one even noticed that tweet. It was not until the Podesta papers were published by WikiLeaks, that became controversial. So I had no reason to cover it up. I had no advanced knowledge of the hacking, or, pardon me, the theft or the publication of the Podesta emails. I had no reason for a cover story.
Roger Stone, by the way, his book is Stone's Rules. You think you're going to be arrested, don't you?
I have no idea. If this is done on the basis of actual evidence and the law and the facts, no, because I haven't done anything illegal. I've been targeted for one reason and one reason only. I'm loyal to the President of the United States. I strongly supported his election. I started urging him to run in 1988, again in 2000, again in 2012. That's why I'm being
The President gave statements today. It was leaked that he answered 2 questions. One was about you. Did you ever talk to the President about Julian Assange or WikiLeaks ever?
Absolutely not.
So the President told the truth in what we learned today?
Yes, absolutely. We at no time did Donald Trump and I, either candidate Trump or President Trump, discuss WikiLeaks. But as you know, Sean, they tried to destroy you financially to make you plead guilty to some minor crime you didn't commit, just like General Flynn. That's why I had to set up StoneDefenseFund.com. It's why they're trying to censor me on InfoWars, so I have no platform to respond to these personal attacks. It is really devastating when they try to destroy you like this.
It's amazing, too, when you see all the evidence of what Hillary did and they don't go near it. Roger Stone, thank you. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Joining us now, author of the upcoming book, Silent No More, How I Became a Political Prisoner of Mueller's Witch Hunt, Jerome Corsi, is with us. You said, I'm not taking the plea deal. I know I could go to jail for the rest of my life. A lot of this revolves around the text message that was sent to you by Roger, who you just heard, that you didn't remember, and you amending your testimony numerous times because you didn't remember what you wrote or said 2 years ago.
That's correct. And what the special prosecutor is asking me to do is accept a fraudulent plea, which I am going to have my attorneys file criminal charges on with the Department of Justice. My experience made it clear to me that the political criminals are running the Department of Justice and Mueller's prosecution. I was ridiculed. My testimony was laughed at. They yawned at it. They misbehaved. And they accused me of being a liar and a fabricator, I think, which was an attack on me for the books I've written that have been so successful, 20 books since 2004.
Oh, I remember when you wrote Unfit to Get. Let me ask you this. You spent how many hours before Mueller and his team?
I was there for 40 hours approximately.
Let me ask you this. When they were offering you this plea deal, which they even said might just result in probation, maybe no jail time at all, when you were confronted with that opportunity, because you're right, you're 72 years old, if this could be a life sentence for you in jail. But when they were talking to you, were they telling you what, in your opinion, what they wanted to hear, and if you said it, you get off scot-free?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, my attorney said all they want you to say is that you're the source.
Give me an example of that. What were they telling you they wanted to hear?
Well, they wanted to hear that I had a source connected to Assange, or I did some way had a direct contact with Assange so they could do the connection which would go Roger Stone, Jerry Corsi, Assange, and then they'd have their basis for collusion. It was complete nonsense. But they would not accept when I told them that, in fact, I never met Assange. I had no contact with Assange or intermediary.
You never had any contact with Julian Assange or WikiLeaks?
Absolutely none.
Never?
Never.
Stay right there. If you can stay, we're going to hold you over. Jerome Corsi will be with us. Then we're going to ask the important legal questions. Is any of this, if you don't steal, you don't hack, you don't conspire to, is any of this a violation of law? This is an important question. Greg Jarrett, Andy McCarthy, as we continue. Important breaking news night tonight on Hannity. We continue my interview now with Jerome Corsi, who decided to turn down a plea deal agreement with the special counsel's office. He says he's committed no crime. All right. You never spoke to Julian Assange. You never met him. You never spoke to anyone at WikiLeaks? Any surrogate?
That's correct. I never did.
Okay. Let me go back then to August 2nd, 2016. And you said and wrote, word is a friend in embassy plans 2 more dumps, referring to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. One shortly after I'm back, 2nd in October, impact plan to be very damaging. So if you don't know him, how did you know that?
Well, because it was a matter of deduction. I had expert analysis and information how the Democrats put their computer system together. The release of information on July 22nd, 2016 that got Debbie Wasserman Schultz was taken from the DNC email server, but it only included officials who were not John Podesta. I said, John Podesta is missing here. And I knew whoever stole emails from that server had John Podesta's. And I said, if I had John Podesta's emails, I'd keep them until the end. I'd make him October surprise.
So you deduced that they had to have them because of the same server.
Same server. It had to come out.
Let me go to the Wall Street Journal then. You said, what I constructed, what I testified to the grand jury was I believed I was creating a cover story for Roger, meaning Roger Stone, because Roger wanted to explain the tweet that I had earlier asked him about. And by the way, the special counsel knew this. They can tell virtually my keystrokes on that computer. Roger said that's not logical and said that you were being squeezed by Mueller's prosecutors when you said that. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, 2 points very quickly. First of all, they constantly pressed me about what Roger thought. And I told him it was a shame I didn't take the mind reading course at Harvard, but I can't tell you what somebody else is thinking. And listening to Roger tonight sounds like that's Roger's explanation, and I'll accept that that's what Roger was thinking. In terms of what I thought I was doing.
Were you trying to stand, as you said, were you trying to create a cover story for Roger?
Let me answer that. In politics, as in public relations, and I was trained in public relations by Edward Bernays, the founder of it, you create narratives to benefit your client. British Petroleum going after oil reserves all over the world becomes BP, and suddenly it's beyond petroleum. Well, BP is no more beyond oil than Long John Silver was beyond Ludi. Is that a lie?
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. You actually said the following. You said, in my heart, I went in to tell the truth, did my best to tell the truth, and I won't swear before God and a judge something I consider to be a lie. We're talking about 2-year-old emails, Mr. Corsi, 2 years old. And then you acknowledged the times that you had forgotten some of the emails. You could have possibly gotten no jail time, none at all. And now you might, as you even said, risk dying in jail. You're older. You're 72 years old. Look, we all worry at this point in our lives, right?
Yes.
Why?
Because...
and here's my bigger question. What did you know they were trying to get you to say?
They wanted
what did they want?
They wanted me to name a source with WikiLeaks that I had that told me Assange had Podesta's emails. And to answer your other question, the plea deal they were offered, I had to go before a federal judge and swear under God and to a federal judge that I knowingly and willfully submitted false information that I knew to be false to the federal authorities in order to mislead them. I didn't do that. I'd rather spend, if the United States has come to it, I'll spend the rest of my life in jail, but I will not swear under God to a lie. I won't do it.
But you do admit you listen, I can't tell you who was on my show last week. So, you know, if I'm in the same position, unless I reviewed all my emails and went back and looked at it ahead of time, I wouldn't remember. I don't know who was on the show last week. I can tell you Reagan's accomplishments from the 1980s, but I can't tell you who was on. Let me ask you this, because I think this is very, very important. And, you know, if you didn't have any communications and you didn't know, and did you ever, because looking for op research isn't a crime, and we'll get to our attorneys next. If you conspired to steal, hack into somebody's personal emails or whatever, or had any doings with that, that would be a crime. Did you do any of those things?
Absolutely not. I deduced that Assange had Podesta's emails. I knew what they were going to be and how damaging they were going to be and how they were used. But I'm not a human tape recorder. You can't punch a button and have me recite word for word a conversation or an email I did 2 years ago. And that's what the prosecutors demanded. They ridiculed me. They yawned. They got up in the room. They abused me all kinds of ways psychologically. And they did that to coerce me, to make me from day one think that if I didn't tell them what they wanted to hear, I was going to go to prison for the rest of my life and die there.
And did they say that to you?
It made it very clear this was serious offenses and there could be multiple charges and there could be...
Let me ask you this. I remember when you wrote the book on John Kerry, and we had you on many times at the time. You know, I'm reading what the media writes about you, that you didn't believe the moon landing was real, or that 9/11, I want to get it accurate, was an inside job. I don't know if you believe those things or not. Do you? Because I was surprised when I read it.
That's all fabrication. I don't believe. But you're getting to a very important point. Aaron Zelinsky, one of the prosecutors, ridiculed me. He said, you just take this fact, that fact, you make lies. Well, I know he's ridiculing my work on, you know, Barack Obama, the birth certificate. He's ridiculing the SWIFT boats. I'm being persecuted and prosecuted because the left wants to get rid of me, and they want to ridicule these books. You're allowed to have controversial
opinions and views. I would disagree with you on both of those things, but this isn't what's at issue here. What's at issue here is, were you offered basically freedom if you told lies? And you're saying they wanted you to lie, they were pushing you to lie.
Yes, and if I had given them what they wanted, it would be all happy. And in fact, after the first grand jury testimony, they all shook my hand and congratulated me, and they blew it up in the second round because I did not have a source with WikiLeaks. They blew it up for that reason.
All right, Jerome Corsi, thank you for being with us. We wish you the best of luck. This is pretty unbelievable, especially with the Hillary side of this. All right, when we come back, this is going to be important legal analysis. Andy McCarthy, Greg Jarrett. Is anything that we're talking about here, looking for op research, a crime? Or do you have to conspire and actually do the things? What about the Pentagon Papers case? That's next. All right, here with reaction, the legal side of my interviews with Roger Stone. Jerome Corsi is the author of the bestseller, The Russia Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton, Frame Donald Trump, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, and former Fox News contributor, NRO contributor, and, of course, the Southern District of New York, probably one of the most prestigious DA offices in the country, Andy McCarthy. So if a 72-year-old guy hands over his computers, cooperates 40 hours, doesn't remember emails from 2 years ago, and then is told, if you tell us this, we're basically going to let you off the hook, but he knows it's a lie, and he's willing to risk life in jail here. Is there anything here that you hear is a crime from either Stone or Corsi? Because I don't. I hear people looking for op research in a campaign, which happens in every campaign.
You know, it's not a crime to fail to recollect something, but in the twisted world of Robert Mueller, if you don't remember 3 emails you sent 2 years ago, you get charged with a crime. You get accused of lying even though you told the truth. You're an imperfect human being. You don't remember it. What Corsi was doing 2 years ago, reaching out to Assange and WikiLeaks, is the same thing I did. And journalists did all over America.
Listen, I think I'm the only guy that actually flew to London and interviewed Julian Assange.
Right.
When he said no, and he reaffirmed this actually tonight on NBC, no, it wasn't from Russia, no state party, that maybe there's a third party cutout.
Right.
I have no idea.
No, that's
what
a
he
crime.
said.
And Mueller knows, and I think there's a very good chance that he'll never charge Jerome Corsi with making a false statement, because Mueller knows he couldn't possibly win and prove that case in front of a jury in a court of law because it requires
72-year-old guy in
specific
jail
intent.
Andy, you worked at one of the Southern District of New York. Some of the best prosecutors ever worked there. When a 72-year-old guy can't remember emails from 2 years ago and amends his testimony a number of times, but wants to cooperate in any way, do you see a crime here?
Well, the problem, Sean, is that if there was a crime here, they wouldn't be asking Jerry Corsi to plead guilty to false statements. And, the office that you said I worked at, you're quite right. We had a lot of very accomplished cases that were done there. But I can tell you, having done a number of them, that nobody builds a case this way. When you actually have a crime, what you do is you make the main cooperator plead guilty to the conspiracy, and he explains, here's what the conspiracy was, here's what I did, here's what the Russians did, here was the connection in the Trump campaign, here's who the hackers were. But you need to have a crime that people agreed to in order to have a conspiracy.
Let me ask you that.
They don't have that. They've never had that.
They conspired with somebody to hack into somebody's emails. A crime would be if they did it themselves or conspired. It sounds like they're speculating. Well, I think there's a big bombshell coming because WikiLeaks had released the DNC emails earlier.
No, they're not. The prosecutors here are not speculating. What they're doing is criminalizing Republican presidential politics and camouflaging the fact that that's what they're doing by taking a few false statements counts. In other words, they get a few people to plead guilty so that they can say...
I don't remember the last time you were on my show, Andy, and I love you, and you're on the show a lot. I couldn't tell you it was on last week, but I can tell you Obama's failed record off the top of my head.
Right.
Let me ask this. In light of
but Sean, the thing is, no.
Go ahead, sir. No, you go.
What I was going to say, no good prosecutor builds a case this way. You don't build a case by pleading your cooperating witnesses to lying to the FBI.
What about the 6'3"?
What do you want to? You want to put a witness on the stand, and the thing the jury remembers about them is that they're a liar?
It kind of sounds like bribery to me. Say what we want. Listen to what Corsi's saying. He knew what they wanted him to say. He could have saved his own ass.
These are tactics.
What do you want me to say? Okay, I'll say it.
These are unconscionable tactics by unscrupulous
Greg, I got a specific question.
Lawyers.
6'3" decision, Pentagon Papers, stolen information, New York Times, other publications, Washington Post publish it, upheld by the Supreme Court. 6'3" decision. And that was stolen information. Now, if WikiLeaks didn't steal it and it was given to them, and the New York Times published what WikiLeaks published, they're not, based on the Pentagon paper decision, neither one of them, including Assange, would be guilty of any crime because they didn't steal it or hack it. Correct?
That's absolutely correct. The Pentagon Papers case really does stand for the proposition that publications can publish stolen documents as long as they're not involved in the stealing, because it's in the public interest. It was important for America to learn about the lies underlying the Vietnam War, and the same can be true here. Isn't it important that Americans learned of corrupt behavior by Hillary Clinton and the Clinton campaign and the DNC? Of course it is. Even though that information was either stolen or it was leaked by someone, which might not even be a crime to begin with.
Why didn't they ever go to Assange, WikiLeaks, and say, okay, you got this information. They make deals with everybody else. Why didn't they make a deal with him and say, you show us where this all came from, and then we'd get the definitive answer, wouldn't we? It seems like nobody wanted to get that answer. Where did Assange get it from? I interviewed him. He said it wasn't Russia. He said it wasn't a state party. Didn't tell me who it was. But he got it from somebody, which means he didn't steal it based on what he's saying, correct?
Sean, look at the indictment of Manafort. Look at the indictment of Gates. There's a million crimes in both of those indictments. Mueller is scorching the earth to find crimes in order to justify this investigation. If he had it, don't you think he would have charged something other than false statements?
It's a yes or no question. When you add the Hillary issue of Russia paid for Russian lies to influence the election, which they won't go into. Are we losing equal justice under the law, equal application under the law? Yes or no?
Hillary
Greg?
Clinton paid for Russian information, fed it to the FBI to damage Donald Trump.
And also
that
fed it
should
to
be
the public.
investigated.
Andy, are we losing equal justice? Equal application?
We have never had equal justice in this. There has never been. In one case, they bent over backwards not to make a case. In the other one, they're scorching the earth to find one.
Well, just take a shredder and put the Constitution in it and just say goodbye. That's what it sounds like to me. That's outrageous. You know, where is prosecutorial discretion? Where's any sense of objectivity, proportionality, as Democrats said during the Clinton impeachment hearings? Gentlemen, you've been amazing. Thank you. We're going to follow this story and continue, but we have an update. DHS reporting that MS-13 gang members arrested by Border Patrol, part of the migrant caravan. Sarah Carter, Morgan Ortegas. They're next, straight ahead.